Are we now? I'm gonna sing la 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 la, doe a deer, a female deer. How does it sound? 100% less robotic. Excellent, excellent. But yeah, so I guess I would rather create the super dark shadows, the hyper dark shadows. I would rather create it through heavy contrast than add gloss to my shadows. Like, but it's entirely a preference thing. Like, yeah, Noel Ghoul King tried to be the model of the day there. He was like, "Hey, keep me out. You don't have to paint that other guy." Uh, I'm losing everything. So much losing. There we go. But yeah, so, and it's all going to be personal preference. I feel it makes just a micro iota of difference, if that. If you like the effect, use it. I don't like the effect, but that doesn't mean that, like, I'm superior. It just means that I'm, persnickety. I don't like the effect, so I don't do it. I don't worry about it. It annoys me, in fact. It actively annoys me, so nothing bothers me. Like seeing different finishes, like not having a consistent finish on a model I'm painting is like one of my big pet peeves. Like, this is why I created matte additive, so that I can use really pretty colors that other companies put out, like this dark ocean, totally not based on our deep ocean, totally based on our deep ocean. But I can use those pretty colors and I can make them the gloss level I want. Did I totally cut that off when there's still muscle there? How silly of me. Oh, I guess there is another muscle there. Well, let's just do that then. There's a little bit of a shadow here on the shoulder. I cut off the shoulder here. It's because there's a line of muscle, but it's right under the shoulder pad, so I didn't want to bring it. Oh, I need to add Twilight Blue to my glacier. Just 2 brushfuls. Just to dim it a little bit, otherwise it'll be too bright. But yeah, so, I mean, finish is something you control, right? It's like, the other reason that I don't like putting gloss in my shadows is that, as I've discussed before, when you add a glossy surface to the model, and then you're also trying to do non-metallic metal, you're going to have problems with that non-metallic metal looking fake, because you've got gloss elsewhere on the model, which is actually reflecting light. Now, the way to get around that is to take your gloss and use it to highlight the NMM. Like kind of spot highlight the NMM with the gloss as well as white, and then it should act in concert. But still. Yeah, Harbor Freight's excellent. But yeah, so like for me, it's like I want a consistent finish on my models. There we go. I'm going to keep a bit of a shadow here because that's still under the shoulder pad there. I'll add a little bit of a highlight along the edge though. I'm going to add a little water. But yeah, I mean, a lot of painters in the world just don't agree with me. So that's why I have such a different paint line from everyone else. And I'm cool with that. I still feel like, in a lot of ways, MSP is more friendly for newer painters. Once you get past the base coat thing, it's so much easier. Once you're assuming you're at the intermediate, like you're moving toward like learning layering and stuff, and not just doing slap chopper, base coat wash. But yeah, so that was my rant on finish in paints. But I really feel like I don't know, but I feel like it must be that when you work with a bigger paint company, they probably just want you to choose a standard finish, right? You can choose satin or you can choose matte. And matte means dead matte, and satin means, you know, shiny, glossy. And I don't know that you can actually ask to have something that's halfway between. I mean, or maybe you can ask, but it's just not, it tends not to be consistent, like scale color. Hey there, Matthew. Alright, I have a little tiny bit of print material to correct on this ear before we paint the face, but then we are going to paint the face, now that I'm done ranting. Done ranting. Those of you who are interested in talk about like finishes and other paint lines and putting gloss in shadows and why you do it, you got to go back and watch the start of the stream up to this point, except for Robo-Ann's introduction in there. Sorry guys, a little bit of print stuff that I totally did not get. There we go, now we can do it. Need to clear that ear up. I don't know, Roger. I don't know why I don't know why you'd be able to ask for a matte finish or a satin finish. I mean, I guess if it's more work for them, right? Maybe. But I would think if you're doing a paint line, you'd want to... You just see the other side here, all right. You'd want to keep things like optimal for painters if you wanted to have your line succeed. Maybe not though. I mean, there were plenty of times in the old days at Reaper where like judgments were made due to cost. As we all know, paint is not a high margin product. I mean, that's why so many of those early paints, well, I've wanted to fix them, because Al was always, no, we want to cut costs and use less pigment. And at that point, like, the things were just starting to change where painters started to care about the quality, like, of the product, like people were starting to be more aware of like high pigment counts and things like that. So it was actually not ideal, but Al came from a much older time in the hobby where it didn't matter. People would just, the paint was the paint, and most of it was kind of substandard as far as pigment count, because it was hobby paint. But yeah, I don't know. We don't work with any of those companies, much as Vallejo would come up to Ed at one of the cons, I forget, Adepticon maybe, and try to convince him to turn over paint production to them, which would have immediately destroyed our customer base, because you guys would have been like, well, now this paint line is like every other paint line, and it's not, it's not Master Series anymore. So again, we're going to be using our Zenith, and we're going to be keeping it nice and dark. So I'm going to actually use like Black Knight, and then the Black Knight plus Twilight to go over the top of that black primer. And we'll go to just Twilight Shadows to start blending out. And then we'll go to the Glacier Blue plus Twilight Shadows, which is our main skin color. And we can do a little bit of wet blending in there. But yeah, after I finish this PDF, I'm going to be using the velvets a lot, just to play with them, with the models that I'm painting. we're pretty much going to paint everything that's white with our Glacier Blue. The Glacier Blue has 2 brushfuls of the Twilight Shadows mixed into it. Whenever we get kind of a gray effect, I'm going to go to the Twilight Shadows, and whenever it's black, we'll go all the way down. But yeah, I did mix some MSP with the velvets, and it was very pretty. When I say that it intensifies a color, I started with Mystic Purple, and I added in the dark purple, and that's what it does, is it makes it really, really vibrant, really pop, really, really intense. So, but it also cut the coverage, so I definitely needed 2 coats. So up on the brows here, we're very much with our pure Glacier, but then we've got a little bit more of that gray, kind of white speckled over black in the middle here, so we're going to go back to our Twilight Shadows. We just can block in over our zenith. Yeah, the one thing I needed to do was to add a drop of anti-shine matte additive to that mixture for that purple, because it did turn a bit glossy. David started a new Golden Demon model last night, Bryce. It's a big conversion. It's not a big model, but he was apparently looking at orc bikes, and he really liked the orc trike. I am very proud of him because, you know, I love orcs and Tyranids were the 2 armies that I principally had for 40K. So now he is painting a duel between an orc and a Tyranid. So he's actually going to paint a Tyranid. I'm so proud. It's because David's a #1 ideation. Like, that means he's always starting new products. He acknowledges it's not going to be done this year. But yeah, #1 ideation people who are really, really idea heavy people, like, every time he turns around, he gets an idea for a new project. Yeah, I know. I remember your orc. One of the orcs that you, was it a Golden Demon orc? The one you sculpted? That you brought to ReaperCon once. Orcs are just fun. Like, they have the best vehicles because you can do all sorts of cool weathering effects on them. And you can just, like, slap them together because they're, like, crazy junkyard resurrects. Plus you get to do, like, racing stripes and flames and checkerboards and all fun, you know, all those fun patterns, which are totally part of the canon. And they're just big and chunky, which is fun to paint. You get more room to do stuff. Too many ideas. You also are a high ideation person. Yeah, I think a lot of painters are. Like, when I say high ideation, I mean Clifton Strengths, the personality metric that I've been studying for a while. David offered to take the test as a birthday present for me, so now I know. Which is great, because high ideation people, the best thing about them is that if you are stuck on a project, the best thing you can do is to talk to somebody who has too many ideas. Because they will be able to, like, iterate a whole bunch of potential ways for you to fix your problem. Yeah, I like squigs. Yeah, I remember that work. But yeah, idea people are the best people to like, you know, run at when you're kind of stuck, because they'll come up with like 5 different ideas or 15, and then you can be like, oh, that idea is perfect, thank you, and run off and, you know, get unstuck. So they're great. If you know somebody like that, who always is starting new things, who always is like, who gets bored super fast and has 50 million ideas, even if they never finish anything, they're really good people to have around, because then you can take advantage of that. You can always ask them, I'm stuck, what do you think I could do here? And they'll be like, you could do this or that or this or that or that. And they'll be like, and you'll be like, oh, that one's the perfect idea, thank you. So they're really, really great people to have around. I have ideation. It's in my top 10. So I seldom get stuck. But it's still useful to have David around. So yeah, don't think it's just a detriment that you can't stick to anything. It also helps you not be stuck. It is a detriment when you're trying to stick to a huge project, though. Like, you almost have to give yourself breaks to work on other stuff. That's what David does, is he just has an ever-rotating cycle of projects that he works on. It's how he deals with the fact that it takes time to paint good miniatures. Alright, so I'm trying to preserve some of the darker shadows here, keeping that really hard shadow under the cheekbone. And as I bring up my highlights, oh yeah, right. Yeah, and that happens, and not just ideation gets that problem, but also a very common strength that a lot of people have, which is learner. So if you are a fast learner, you probably have that as a strength. And like, if you're the type of person who believes that you can do anything as long as you have time to learn it, and that you're capable of learning anything if you put your mind to it, that also is a strength that gets bored easily. So when you've got them together, and they often do come together, you also can struggle with sticking to projects. I am that way. I'm a number 2 learner. So it's my superpower, because I honestly do believe that, you know, given a good instruction and time, I can learn anything. But, and that's held me in good stead throughout my life, but it also means I get very bored very quickly. I'm always looking for something new to learn. Yeah, if you can watch someone, you can learn it. Yeah, so that's the... Oh, really? Learner was on the bottom half for you. Yeah, then probably it's ideation that's getting bored then, Laura. Could be any number of other stuff, though. But it is one of the symptoms of having ideas, a lot of ideas, is that you tend to... So this is entirely dark, this side of the face, because it's away from the light. We're going to grab our Twilight Shadows plus Black Knight. We're going to block it all in. And then what I have to do, if I'm going to give anything at all to this side of the face, is I need to think out about reflected light. But first we'll block it all in this medium dark blue. Yeah, there you go. And that's what pushes you, right? Yeah. Right. Like, and that's the thing about strengths. It's like nothing is in a vacuum. Everything is always influenced by other strengths you have. An achiever is one of those strengths that loves to get things done more than anything. It's a strength I wish I had. David has it. And that's why David finishes more models than I do, by the way. I would get a lot more done if I just had one focus in my life instead of all these different focuses. Like, let's face it, David, he goes to work. When he comes home, it's either computer gaming or painting. Like, that's what he does. Or he watches a show on Netflix if he's taking a break. But, like, it's either computer gaming or painting. And so, because he has very few distractions, relatively speaking, he gets a lot more done than me. Whereas I've got all this other stuff. Stream models, actually, no, seriously, you're right. So, because I stream, I finish probably as many models as he does. But he does a lot more, like, painting on his own time than I do. Like, if he's really into it, he will come home, we'll eat supper, and he spends the rest of the night painting. Yeah, it's just like. But this is. I almost think of this as forced labor. It's a terrible thing to think about. So here, okay, I have to think about light. So light is hitting the shoulder, and it's going to be bouncing up on the face. But it's not going to be light from above. It's going to be light from lower down here. So I wonder if I can make this look right if I try to do kind of an underside. I can definitely pick out some of the musculature here. I want to highlight essentially areas closer to the shoulder to show that reflected light. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to finish all these models for stream, but at the same time, I wish I was finishing, models for myself sometimes. You guys know. You understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, without the stream, I wouldn't finish nearly as many. And I do enjoy painting on stream, which is why I do my Saturday stream where I work on my Golden Demon piece now. Alright. So the reason I used the mixture of Twilight Shadows and Black Night Liner to do a base coat on this is so I could still reach for the Black Night Liner to do shadows. And I think I'm going to have to leave a little bit up there, but I think I'm going to try to highlight the underside of that cheekbone. Oh, Kuro. I don't blame Kuro for having tons of work in progress dragons, though, because dragons are such a huge effort. Alright, we're going to try to get some light on the underside of the cheekbone. Now, remember that light diminishes as it moves away from the source, and so these under reflections, I don't want them to be too. Hold on, I'm going to get a little closer here and get a little bit more in focus. I was too far away. So I'm trying to get the suggestion of light here. Here is working great because this is going to be light because you can see that the primer is here. There's that and there under that eye. I'm trying to bring up those colors a little bit. But because the cheekbone here and this eye are farther away from the shoulder, they won't necessarily have as bright of a light. So I want to keep an eye on that as well. I think I'm going to bring this up a bit and then I can always knock it down. Hey there, Richard. Yeah, Richard's like, good job. Just trying to do a little bit of blending here. I'm going to bring down the blue a little closer to the shoulder. So just a little bit there. Yeah, it's interesting when you've got that shift to the shadow side of the face, but then we got that. So, all right, that's not bad. Oof. Yeah, the one big mini a month thing. It's such an, like, it's such an arbitrary number. I probably would have done something like, I'm going to finish more minis this year than I did last year. But lately I'm very careful with myself about setting myself up for failure. Alright, so his hair's going to be black, so I'm going to go with the Black Knight liner. Are you allergic to goals, Quindy? Goals don't work for everybody. It's something that people don't bring up very often. It's counterproductive for some people if they don't have that skill set. Or don't want that skill set. Or both. You're going to finish something, that's your goal. Yep. That was kind of my goal. Like, you know, the past couple of years, it's just been, I want to finish one thing for ReaperCon. And that's it. That's been my goal. If I finish one thing during the year, and I can bring it to ReaperCon, I'm happy. So that was Lava Dragon last year. The year before was crazy because I pushed and I finished like 3 things. Once again proving that I can do some crazy things if I put my mind to it, but it also causes stress. And I don't like stress. So I didn't really set a goal this year other than I really want to get something done for Golden Demon. But I don't know if I'm, but it's not like even a goal. Like if I don't get something done for Golden Demon, I don't, right? I mean, people who don't do goals just organize their lives differently. But, like, they still get stuff done. They just don't, like, do a to-do list or they don't actually have an active goal. They just, you know, it depends on what their strengths are, but there are people who are very much more freeform, who just work on things as they feel like it and have the time. And they work on a much more, you know, loose schedule. Alrighty, so we're getting that black hair in on this side. Two t-shirt quilts over Christmas. Wow, crazy. Yeah, Laura, that's a great one. Pick a mini you really like and paint it up as well as you possibly can. Short-term to-do lists, yeah, beyond that. Yep. Yeah, I'm the same, Quindy. Although now I've come up with a way to get around that because that is me also. Is I do well with very short-term stuff, but if I try to plan out more than a couple weeks or even a week in advance, it falls apart. And so, oh, interesting. His hair is he's very bald up there. Okay, I gotta change that. So this needs to be skinned then between the horns. But what I have now is just a catch list. When I think of something and I'm like, oh, you know, I need to not forget that, I just throw it on my catch list. And I keep my catch list out, like, but in a different room. Someplace I'll see it, but I don't see it all constantly. Someplace where it'll remind me to go, oh, yeah, I need to, do that. And then maybe that makes it on this week's list, right? But that way I find I forget a lot less. Because otherwise, yeah, it's easy to just, like, have things just fade out of my brain. You're off painting armies. Oh, nice. Well, Cthulhu. Nice. Yeah, I mean, just do what you feel, Richard. It's your hobby. It's your hobby, and it's like, it's all, the only thing it has to be is what you want it to be. I guess it makes sense he'd be bald around his horns. But yeah, part of me knows that I'm going to have to put more time, like more of my own time into painting if I'm going to get something done for Golden Demon, probably. But it's going to be difficult because with the writing, like I warned David last night, I was like, because I've been playing Path of Exile with him in the evenings, and I'm like, the evenings is really the only place I can fit in the writing right now because I'm running during the afternoon. And that means probably I won't be able to play video games with you after a certain point because I'm going to need to really start on North of the Wind, like start making consistent progress on North of the Wind. I haven't decided on what color his horns are. I haven't really looked to see what color Oni horns are. I guess I should. Bone colored, black, bone colored, lots of bone colored horns. Some blue, bone colored. Looks like a lot of bone colored horns. Alright. Not all Ogre mages have horns though. I should type in Oni. Yeah, it looks like bone-colored horns with Oni, too. But Oni are usually red or green. Not so many blue. Some black, some bone-colored, yeah. A lot of bone-colored horns. Crocheted an owlbear for you. A little monster. Was it a little critter? I forget what they call those little creatures. Crochet creatures. Since the D&D movie, everybody understands that owlbears are cool. kind of blocking in where the skin is, and there's a little bit of highlight on the back of the ear here where the light comes back in. I have not, but I have one. 9 inches tall. Wow, that's a big owlbear. Alright. I wonder if I can do a little bit on top of this too. Just a little bit there on the ear. Yeah, I think that works. Since there's the eye ridge there, I can bring in a little bit here. There, now we have enough definition in here to show the features of the face on the shadow side. Gonna hit a little bit here. There. Alright, now we can start working in some highlights. Although I think I'm going to do just a little bit down on the chin here. There. Alrighty, and then there's the lips here too. I haven't gotten that. Probably I want to pick up a pink tone in the lip there. Oh, and I need to I'll get everything blued out, but then I am going to introduce some pink tones around the lips and mouth. Hey, Slayer. Alrighty, let's get this highlight. This seems way too thick for a highlight. Need to thin down my highlight color. And my two highlight colors are very warm. So that's my skin triad for mid, first highlight, second highlight. So I definitely have a green here. I could add a little bit more blue in if it doesn't look good for me. I am going to be thinning it down a lot though, so it's really not going to read that green once it goes over the blue. When you thin down your extreme highlights, you'll see the color kind of go away, and really you'll just see the value. Because it'll be thinned and it'll be in a very small area, and you just won't see that color as much as you think you will. Oh boy. hopefully I'll finish my Chimera PDF today. I have some painting to do this afternoon to test. Gotta test some layering and glazing. I need to get my dragon PDF or dragon video out. So I want really to wrap up this wrap up my $5 PDF. It took longer. When I do a paint line review, it always takes longer than a normal PDF because I have to really spend the time to execute all of the different techniques with the line, and then I have to write it up and take pictures. It's very time consuming. So I think I'm going to wait and do the P3 one in a couple months. Okay, let's get that highlight up. So everywhere that everything was bright white, I want to get. And if I wasn't sure of my lighting, then I would want to have taken a picture of this with the zenith on it so that I would remember where the various really strong white highlights were. At this point, I'm pretty good at remembering for myself. So I didn't this time, but if you have trouble with lighting, if you still struggle with it, definitely take a picture. That way you can always refer to it if you're not sure where your strongest highlights should be. Yeah, definitely not going to be highlighting the nose with the green. I'm going to be bringing in some magenta mixed with my blue, so I'll be doing more of a purpley pink for the nose. At least for the nostrils. And I'm going to get that lower lip with the same thing. So actually I need to paint the lower lip blue first, just like I did there. I want it to be consistent. So if I'm starting with a blue base for my fleshier colors on the nose, then I need to do the same thing with the mouth. He has some serious tusks going on. Hey there, Keekers. What's up? You been good this morning? You been good this morning? Yeah, you've been a good quiet girl. You're here to deposit vast amounts of fur onto my model. Is that true? Hi there, Big Waggy Tail. Yeah, Miss Waggy Tail is here. Good girl. Yeah, we still have about 15 minutes, Bubs. Hang out and chill. So I'm starting to bring up some of my more lightish, greenish highlights down here. I'm going to minimize this shadow a little bit in here with my glacier blue. Kind of looking between the ears, figuring out. How I want to paint them. I want to do the earlobes also with the fleshier pink. Yes, she put all that fur there and now has to do it all over again. Ten-month-old puppies think everything is a game, though. Ah, owlbear pictures on the Discord. Thank you, Richard. Hold on, let me go and... Did you put it in off topic, or what did you put it in? Or is it in cute animals? Nope, it's not in cute animals. D&D, of course. Oh, okay. Oh, it's adorbs! Hold on. That's incredible. I just love it. Down to the creepy eyes that are going to follow you everywhere. I love it. It's an owlbear, guys. It's fantastic. I love it. It's really good, considering she's not a D&Der. It's fantastic. I love it. He is just the best. Yeah, your friend is awesome. Your friend has like super high quality, and I love the claws even. Yeah. Your friend gets total props for that. Wow. What a great friend. What a great present. You can tell her we all give her high marks. High marks for friendship and crocheting. Hey there, Kiki. You just hanging out? She's like, I'm lurking. I'm lurking, Mama. When will you be done? Yeah, are you lurking? Kiki's a lurker today. I'm going to take my lightest greenish color and I'm going to come up here. Yeah, tell her it gets 2 thumbs up from all of your D&D nerd fans. All your D&D nerd friends, rather. Alright, so as we get the highlights in, we start seeing more contrast here. The face then begins to resemble the rest of the model. Alrighty, so I'm going to come in and I want to shade around these wrinkles, like at the bottom of the horns. And then I want to highlight those. I probably need to get a little bit more of a solid base coat on them first. Alright, so now the highlights and the shadows. Let's grab our Twilight Shadows. And I'm just going to put a little bit of a line around the base with that, and on the top. And I'm probably going to take a little bit of my base skin color and brush it over that because I want to blend it in a little bit. And so that's a really simple, I mean, it's essentially a glaze, although I'm using kind of the full strength paint. But when you do a hard line and you want to soften it a bit, painting over it with the base coat and just a little bit of it showing through. Again, this is a case where transparency in the paint is a bonus. Because although although that glacier blue is thin slightly, it is at a at a decent consistency because I've been using it to base coat. All right, yep. Have fun, Crowley. So I can just like brush that real lightly over that, and it's going to show through a little bit still. I can do another coat and kind of fade it out a little bit. Keep just enough for it to be a shadow, fine shadow, there we go. But not so much that it looks too linear. Alright, so highlights, going to be big, strong on this forehead for sure, coming down to that top wrinkle. So I'm going to start blocking that in. When I put highlights on the forehead here, I'm going to kind of focus toward the center a bit. Center and left, because that's where our highlights are on the brow here. So I feel a little better about my kneeling chair this morning. I've been listening to a book about why, like, humans... We come from actually pretty sedentary, distant ancestors genetically. Like, hunter-gatherers have to be active, but, like, they also spend a lot of time sitting. So this guy is pretty much like, well, why is sitting so, why has it become so bad for us, and all this kind of other things. But one thing he brought up, an interesting statistic, was that in cultures where they don't use or have chairs with back support, like this chair doesn't, the people have, on average, 35% stronger backs. So it isn't necessarily that sitting wrecks your back, or even that slouching wrecks your back. Actually, there's not much scientific evidence for that, apparently. But that our backs get very weak, or tend to get weaker, when we use chairs that give us, like, all this support where we can just relax totally. And that can exacerbate back problems if you have a weak back. So it's interesting. Kiki, enough. As with all books, of course, I'm sure there's tons of research of different types out there. Otherwise, it's kind of a terrifying book. It's about how even though we come from ancestors who spend a lot of time sitting around, we've, like, why we need to exercise, essentially. It's interesting. Actually, yeah, Richard, he points out he's done a lot of work with indigenous peoples, a lot of whom he's essentially worked with a lot of cultures that haven't changed a lot, that are still, although they're changing at a very fast pace now with the state of the world. But he points out that they don't really have chairs, and a lot of them will just squat or sit or kneel, right? But they also don't spend a ton of time sitting. Like, they don't sit for hours on end. They're always, like, doing something. Like, either they're watching the kids, and so they have to move around a little bit, or they are, shucking corn, or, otherwise preparing food, which also means, they periodically get up and move around and stuff like that. So there's a lot of, he's essentially in the book trying to get to the bottom of, what is healthy practice, right? Like, and to do it, because he's an evolutionary biologist, he tends to look at where we came from, right? Like, the kind of cultures that we came from 10,000 years ago, up until I guess even like 1,000 years ago, right? Some of us, 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, not many years. So he kind of uses that as a basis. But yeah, apparently it isn't just, like, hunter-gatherers, like, sit like up to 12 hours a day. So it's not just sitting. That sitting itself isn't really implicated in bad stuff. I found that interesting. It seems to be more about how much you get up and move around, even if you only get up for a couple minutes. And it seems like, as far as people who have sedentary jobs, there is no correlation between negative health outcomes and having a sedentary job. Kiki, enough! Shut it down now! Settle! Pardon me while I shut the door, folks. I guess we only have 5 minutes, but I don't want to keep getting interrupted by Miss Jerkface. Enough! But yeah, so apparently our sedentary jobs aren't a big deal. But what we do with our off time then becomes more interesting. It seems like you can have a sedentary job and you're fine. But if you also are sedentary when you're home, like when you don't have, when you're not working, then that can pile up, it seems. I don't know, I'm not through listening to the book, but it's interesting. Yeah, settle down. Now are you a quiet girl? Yeah, how about we be a quiet girl for 5 minutes? Think you can manage that? Mama, I'm sure it was an Amazon person. They're very sus. Yeah, right. You're in this and you do not like it, yeah. Don't go out much these days, yeah. Well, if you don't go out, apparently, if you at least like set a timer and every half hour you get up and move around, like get yourself more water or drink or, um, just go pet your dog, organize your hobby shelf, whatever. Spend just a couple minutes like moving around. Apparently that helps a lot. That's true. Everybody thinks you should be buying something, or you could just sit in the comfort of your living room and spend money. They like you to do that too. But yeah, it seems like it's more like just the long periods of inactivity are really not good for us. So I'm getting a little highlight in here. You can see the highlights coming in there. So yeah, I've decided that, I mean, I'm for one thing, the whole walking after meals thing, totally good. Like totally reinforced to be a very good thing. Makes you less likely to store your meal as flab and generally helps with your blood sugar. But yeah, I think I'm just going to try to get up a little bit more often. Like often when I get into my focus state, I'm just sitting there for like an hour and a half. But I could get up and take a 2-minute break and walk around and think about what I'm doing and then go back and write some stuff down and paint a little more, It wouldn't hurt to do that. It'll annoy my brain. My brain loves to just sit and focus and like laser in on something for an hour and a half. But maybe I can, if I'm still thinking about the thing, like if I sit and I paint for like 25 minutes this afternoon working on the PDF, and then I make myself get up and take a break and maybe do like some stretches or something. I don't think 2 minutes of stretching is going to totally disrupt my brain. I guess I'll try it and figure out if it's true. But yeah, no going out necessary, just getting up. He actually points out in the book that he actually, now that he has started doing this himself, he pets his dog more. he gets up and he finds his dog and he pets her for a minute and then he goes back to work. I think that dogs around the world would wholeheartedly support this initiative. And cats. Cats, obviously, would also. Unless, of course, the cats didn't want to be petted and then, well, you're out of luck. Alrighty, I think we're about there. I'm going to put the highest highlight here. And we've got the face really coming up now. You can see the forehead is really coming out, all those details. Put the highest highlight in here. And of course the nose is just blasé right now, and the lips because I want to do them in slightly different colors. But you see how that the highlighting is bringing out all of these details. There we go. Just adding in a little bit more highlight. Yeah, it's looking nice. I could put a little bit more transition in here, and then we'll close out the stream. Tomorrow we'll be on FaceCat. I need to wash FaceCat today. So we'll be doing a monster for the first time in a while. Yeah, so we got a good start on the face, including the shadow side, which I'm going to tune that a bit, I think. Glaze it a little bit, bring some of that highlight down. We'll see how much I need it. But yeah, tomorrow is FaceCat. I have to take Face Kitty out of his... Actually, I'm going to cut off his little top so that we have it. I always take the top off. And then open the Face Kitty. Face Kitty. He looks grumpy. So we're going to do this as probably a kind of a magical melanistic leopard. You're supposed to look like Black Panthers with tentacles, so... Oh, these are 3D prints. Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was a 3D print. It's got some really nice detail on it. I have to gently disentangle the tentacles, though. There we go. They definitely like to tangle themselves up. Those are cool. This is going to be a cool mini. Oh, and there's this little paw. Oh, I see. It goes in like this. That's right. Okay, so it snaps in like that. And we'll have to do some putty work, guys, actually. So this will actually be a good opportunity to tackle some texture, like how to sculpt, how to bring this together. So I'll have to remove these. There's a little bit of print lines and stuff, and we'll have to do some green work to make that work. And this side, I think, I see. So he's got kind of plates on his back. Yeah, I don't so much mind if there's a seam here between the plates and the fur, but here with the shoulder, we definitely need to do some green work. So, all right, that's good to know. It means I'll probably clean him and then prime him so that after we do the green work, we can still work on site painting some of this so that we can have something to do. Yeah, FaceCat. FaceCat. We're going to do some cool stuff. I'm really happy he's a 3D print. That makes the tentacles really have some nice detail. But yeah, there's just a very little fine fur texture on this guy. So we'll add more through painting. So yeah, it should be fun, guys. This will be different. Like, I've been wanting to work on a monster again for a while, so we'll do that tomorrow. We'll do some green work to start out, and then we'll maybe talk about some colors and look at some photos for reference, and then we'll start. I'm thinking like teal and indigo with moth green, tentacles going out to like moth green with the barbs and stuff. It's kind of what I'm thinking as far as colors. And mostly black, of course. So, all right, guys, thank you so much, and you can look forward to that tomorrow, starting a new mini, starting Phase Kitty. Yeah, hopefully it'll look really cool. We'll play around with it and see what we can do. All right, everybody. Cool. Thanks, John, for the YouTubes. That sounds great. Thanks so much. Thanks, Quindy and John, for modding, and I'll see you guys later. Have a great one, and we'll see you again tomorrow, everybody. Okay, bye-bye.